Umar took power. The period that Umar, the 10 years that Umar was in power, it was power, it was obedience, it was unity. The disagreements and everything came back to Umar, and it was hard for anyone to wiggle around it. Umar's leadership was powerful and strong. No one could raise their heads to go against the Quran and the Sunnah or show any form of deviation. And Imam al-Darimi, he narrated in the Muqaddimah of his Sunan that a man tried to do that. His name is called Sabigh ibn Islin. Sabigh ibn Islin came about the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, and he started to ask questions about the Quran in a very ambiguous, doubtful manner. He wanted to play with the Muslims' belief and aqidah. He wanted to corrupt their belief. So he started asking, what does وَالذَّارِيَاتِ ذَرْوًا mean? And as we all know, the Quran consists of verses which are crystal clear in the Quran, and there are verses which are slightly vague that can take many interpretations. But how do you deal with those verses that are ambiguous and unclear? You have to bring them back to the ayat which are crystal clear. هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات فأما الذين في قلوبهم زيغ فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله وما يعلم تأويله إلا الله والراسخون في العلم يقولون آمنا به كل من عند ربنا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب. Allah tells us in this verse that there are verses which are ambiguous and verses which are clear. Allah mentions that the righteous people, they bring those ambiguous verses to those clear-cut verses. For example, sometimes you hear in the Quran, Allah used the word we. Now the word we can mean royalty, that's one. It can also mean plurality, it can be many. But how do we know which one is meant here? We know when we look at the other verse of the Quran, إِنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Those verses which tell us Allah is one. So we now know that the we that's used by Allah, it's not plurality, it doesn't mean many, it means royalty. So some people take those verses which are ambiguous and they bring it to the people's eyes and hearts and say, look, Allah said this and Allah said this. And so then it happened at the time of Umar. Sabigh ibn Islin, this man, tried to do that. When Umar was informed, and Umar, again, as I said, he was a leader at a micro level and a minute, and to the details. He governed every aspect of the Muslims. He was not a leader who was busy with himself and filling his pockets. Rather, Umar radiallahu anhu was what? He was an individual who was busy with the affairs of the Muslims. Radiallahu anhu. So what happened? He said, bring this man, Sabigh ibn Islin, to me. Sabigh was brought to Umar radiallahu anhu, and Umar beat him severely until he bled. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, the man said to Umar, Umar, hasbuk. He said, stop. If you want to kill me, then kill me. But if you're hitting me to bring me back to my senses, then trust me, I've now realized what I was doing was wrong and what I was saying was wrong. I have now repented and I'm asking for your forgiveness, and please let me, Umar, be. Umar said, okay. This man was bringing doubts to the Muslims and causing them confusion in their religion. So he said, okay, no problem. You've repented, your repentance is accepted. 1 year, he put him in a place where he couldn't talk to anyone. To look at his situation, if he's still the same or not.